Global spending on AI is racing toward $1.5 trillion in 2025. Almost every serious organization now has an AI initiative on its roadmap. The problem isn't ambition. The problem is converting a shiny prototype into something that survives real-world operations. This is where the PoC Trap shows up. In week 1, a generative AI demo feels like magic. The model talks well. The workflow looks clean. A simple interface makes it feel production-ready. Leadership sees it and thinks, we're close. But by month 3, the same project is stuck in meetings, blocked by security, struggling with data quality, and burning budget in ways nobody predicted. Gartner expects at least 30% of Gen AI projects to be abandoned after the proof-of-concept stage by the end of 2025. Why? Poor data quality, weak risk controls, rising costs, or unclear value. And it's not just Gen AI. The broader story is similar. The Harvard Business Review notes that some estimates place AI project failure rates as high as 80%. This isn't because teams are incompetent, but because production AI is not just a feature, it's an entire operating model. A prototype proves capability. Production demands accountability. Can it handle messy inputs and edge cases? Can it resist prompt injection and unsafe tool actions? Can it be monitored, evaluated, audited, and improved without drama? Can costs stay predictable as usage scales? And can humans trust it appropriately, not blindly and not dismissively? That's the gap I want to unpack today. In this video, I'll break down the real reasons enterprise AI breaks after the demo, the hidden cost categories most teams don't budget for, and the practical principles that consistently move AI from experimentation into measurable business outcomes. So, what is the PoC Trap? A PoC is controlled theater. Inputs are clean. User paths are predictable, and the model rarely faces ugly edge cases. That's why week 1 feels magical, and month 3 feels political and expensive. The trap usually appears at the first compliance review, the first integration with a legacy system, or the first time users depend on outputs for real decisions. Suddenly, the model's confidence becomes a liability, not a feature. Stakeholders stop asking, can it answer? And start asking, can we trust it, control it, and explain it? Remember, a demo proves capability. Production demands accountability, error handling, permission boundaries, audit trails, monitoring, and an owner who carries the pager when it breaks. If those are missing, the project stalls. Treat the PoC as a test for production constraints, not just a stage show for approval. Now, let's talk about the first hidden cost: AI-ready data. Most teams think their problem is data quality. The real problem is data fitness. AI-ready data isn't just clean tables. It's data with context, permissions, lineage, and retrieval paths that match how people actually work. In production, you must answer boring questions fast. Which source is authoritative? What fields are sensitive? What changes over time? What is the system allowed to write back? And under which approvals? If you can't answer those, your intelligent workflow becomes a risk machine. The fix is an AI-ready data layer. This means curated documents plus structured data, governed access, a retrieval index, and enforced access rules. Build evaluation for retrieval quality, not only model output. Prompts don't rescue broken data pipes. They just make the output sound nicer. Fix the data layer first, and scaling becomes engineering, not just hope. The second hidden cost is the security threat model. Generative AI changes the threat model because the input channel is language, and language is easy to weaponize. In a PoC, you grant broad tools, broad data, and broad permissions to make it look powerful. In production, that openness becomes an attack surface. If an LLM can call tools, it can be tricked into calling the wrong ones. If it can see sensitive data, it can leak it. If it can browse the web, hostile content can manipulate it. OWASP highlights risks like prompt injection, insecure output handling, training data poisoning, and model denial of service. The fix isn't a bigger model, it's boundaries. Implement least privileged tool scopes, allow lists, strong output validation, and audit logs for every action. Add rate limits and cost caps to prevent runaway loops. Treat the model like an untrusted intern that speaks confidently, and you'll design safer systems. The third hidden cost is reliability and evaluation. Reliability is where most Gen AI projects quietly die. A model can be impressive and still be wrong in the ways that matter. NIST calls one key risk confabulation, the production of confidently stated but false content that misleads users. When outputs influence decisions, sounds right becomes dangerous. Production systems need evaluation, not just vibes. Define what good looks like for each task. Build test sets from real cases. And run regression checks every time you change prompts, retrieval, or tools. Measure the whole pipeline, because retrieval quality, tool accuracy, and UI framing often determine outcomes more than the LLM itself. Also, design for graceful failure. When confidence is low, the system should ask for clarification or route to a human. If you can't measure reliability, you can't improve it. Fourth, let's talk economics and inference. AI economics is not a one-time purchase, it's a curve. Once usage starts, inference becomes a recurring cost, and those costs can jump as traffic, context length, and tool calls increase. That's why pilots feel cheap and production feels heavy. The goal isn't to fear cost, but to control it. Start with break-even math. For example, Lenovo STCO analysis shows a scenario where on-premise infrastructure becomes more cost-effective after about a year of usage. Your numbers will differ, but the point stands. Utilization changes everything. To avoid bill shock, design cost controls from the start, catching smaller models for routine work, and guardrails that stop runaway loops. Track cost per task, not just total spend. The fifth hidden cost is governance and auditability. Governance is no longer an afterthought. Under regulations like the EU AI Act, violations can trigger massive fines. This pushes enterprises to demand controls across the entire AI supply chain. In practice, governance means four things: clear use case boundaries, data handling rules, change control for models, and incident response. You need an inventory of where AI is used, what data it touches, and what decisions it influences. This discipline protects your teams when mistakes inevitably happen. The payoff is speed. When governance is designed in, approvals become predictable. Our sixth hidden cost involves people and process. Most AI programs are treated like software deployments, but they are actually operating model changes. BCGS 102070 rule is a useful reminder. Only 10% is algorithms, 20% is tech and data, and a massive 70% is people and process. Month 3 problems are usually human, unclear ownership, teams resisting workflow changes, and users either overtrusting or ignoring the system. Training matters, but workflow design matters more. If AI is bolted onto a broken process, you just scale confusion. Fix the process first, then automate it. Define who approves, who reviews, and who gets alerted. The fix is adoption engineering. Rewrite standard operating procedures, build feedback loops, and make AI outputs actionable inside the tools people already use. So, how do you escape the PoC trap? With a 90-day production blueprint. A successful path to production is boring, and that's why it works. Days 1 to 15, pick one KPI-linked workflow, map your data sources, and define what success and failure look like. Days 16 to 45, build the foundation, the data layer, retrieval, tool scopes, logging, and security boundaries. Create test cases from real work. Days 46 to 75, run in shadow mode. Compare AI outputs against human outcomes and tune everything. Days 76 to 90, roll out to a controlled group, measure the impact, and then expand. The goal isn't perfection, it's controllable reliability, measurable value, and a pipeline you can iterate on without breaking trust. Looking ahead, the next wave is agents, not chatbots. Gartner predicts over 40% of agentic AI projects will be cancelled by 2027 due to costs, unclear value, or risk. The winners will be teams that build agents with governance and discipline from day one. Agents amplify everything: speed, impact, and risk. The future stack will be tool interfaces, policy engines, and evaluation harnesses, with models as interchangeable parts. Start small, prove value, and expand permissions slowly and safely. To conclude, the PoC trap is a predictable collision between demos and reality. The organizations that win in 2025 will treat AI like infrastructure, not just a feature. They will budget for data readiness, security, evaluation, governance, and adoption, because those systems create trust at scale. A model can be smart, but the system can still be stupid. Build the system, build the process, build the safety. Then the model finally gets a job it can keep. That is how you move from week 1 excitement to month 3 outcomes. This thinking isn't theoretical. It's how real systems are designed and deployed. We apply this across different layers of the stack, from system architecture with Orbideep to production-grade automation with Orbis CR, reusable developer assets with Dions, and supporting the human layer with Mindful Flow. Each solves a part of the same problem, turning AI from an experiment into a dependable operating capability. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, hit the like button and subscribe for more content on building production-ready AI. See you in the next one.